Hello, welcome to the channel. My name is Paul. I'm the Accidental Bookseller. Today we've got a tag for you, and it's the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy tag. I was nominated by Alan's Reads and also Ghost Readers in the Sky, and it's been created by Gareth at Books, Songs and Other Magic. Can't read my own writing. There's quite a bit of blurb, so I will put that in the notes as usual, and also the videos that Alan did and Ghost Readers in the Sky did, they're there as well. All of these topics go completely over my head because I've never read Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. The TV series was on when I was I want to say mid-teenager or maybe late teens, early 20s, around that time anyway. It's a long time, seems like a long time ago. I tried to get into it but couldn't. Wasn't really for me. So I have no idea behind the subject matter behind the various questions, but I will give it a go, as ever. Question number 1 is demolishing your house. What book would you look for first to save from the demolition? This is quite an easy one because I guess a lot of my books, I'm not going to say they're all replaceable, but quite a lot of them would be replaceable, and you'd hope that you'd get insurance money for them. But one book which isn't particularly replaceable is my pre-editor's proof copy of the Damnation game, Clive Barker's first novel, which is also, it's not got any proper binding, but it's also got a drawing and is signed. It's addressed to Dave. Best wishes, Clive Barker, 11th of December 1986. Not quite sure who Dave is. Mentioned it on another video. It might be someone connected to the Fantasy Centre, the legendary bookshop in London. Long since shut now, but it could be related to that. That's where I got it from. I got it about, I'm going to say 35 years ago. But that will be the book that I saved from demolition. I think you could probably understand why. So the next question is Vogon Poetry. Quote a poet, a line of poetry, or a lyric that you love. I've chosen Of the Wound, sung by Christian Death. I go into my experiences with them a little more in my 8 memories tag, following them to every concert around the country in the mid to late 80s. Hitching, sleeping rough, hitching, sleeping rough, hitching, sleeping rough to every concert on every tour, 29 times in all. When I stopped seeing them, followed a band called Fields of the Nephilim for 68 gigs. Yeah, that's right, 68 for my sins. Also, this one was one that I covered when I was a vocalist in a band in the 80s. It's not particularly tuneful. It's a cross between spoken word and experimental, I guess you would call it. The speaking is done over a backdrop of a scratch guitar with an oboe, with a kind of, you're led to believe that there's a field of battle, because that's what's shown in the booklet. Originally sung by Ros Williams, who was the first singer. He left by the time that I started following them. Fortunately got to meet him before he passed away. I'll try not to say it in the style of Ros. I will try and read it as a poem. But before I do that, I will... So this is the album itself, Ashes. Fantastic album. I'm showing you that because this is a Booktube channel, the literary connection. So unbeknownst to me, and I thought I knew not everything, you never know everything, but I thought I knew most about the band, because every album that they produced in the 80s, still going, but I haven't produced anything decent since about 1991. But everything they did in the 80s was accompanied by either a artistic leaflet or a small book. And there's a lyric book with this, because I was reading Surviving Death by Leslie Kean a couple of years ago. So a journalist investigates experiences of an afterlife. Very good, very well balanced book. Doesn't pitch itself as a believer or as a critic. She's a little bit on the, just a little bit on the edge of the believing side, but it is quite well balanced. But anyway, she covers various aspects of that sort of thing. And like any book, you've got some pictures at 2 points in the book. And lo and behold, I'm reading this, and there is a photograph, which is the same photograph as the Ashes album. Ashes album's 1985, by the way. This is a lot more recent. Those fingers, those hands, it's a cast of crossed fingers, and it's from 1907. In seances of that time, there was a chap called Gustav Gailey, and during those seances, he would get hands to materialize, and those hands would materialize within wax, and the materialized hands would form a lasting composite based on the built from the wax that was used around the materialized fingers. That's Gustav Gailey. So that's the literary connection between the Ashes album and that. I have mentioned Leslie Kean before, and because Leslie Kean is, I guess, famous is probably not the right word, but I'll use it anyway. Famous for the New York Times article around the UFO incidents, the Nimitz videos, which you may be aware of, which was then expanded upon in the TV series Unidentified, and furthered with the US government via the Organisation to the Stars Foundation, which was developed by Tom DeLonge of Blink 182, and there's various other high-profile figures in American politics, like the late Harry Reid, who pushed for an investigation and more information around the Nimitz videos, which culminated in, as part of the final Donald Trump bill from his first administration, when they were trying to get COVID funding through. Within that COVID funding bill, there was a pork barrel element to it of getting funding for in UFO or UAP investigation into what's happening around, particularly the Nimitz video and other instances of UAPs around nuclear and military installation sites, ships. The basis for wanting the investigation was that if there was something going on, then it's a matter of national security, rather than it being a populist, funny conspiracy type subject that it's been treated as before. To the Stars Foundation and people like Harry Reid and Marco Rubio stressed that, look, if something is going on, it's a matter of national security. So anyway, as part of that funding bill, they got the approval to have an investigation. That investigation resulted in the announcement in sometime in 2021/2022, when the US government announced, yes, the UAPs, the UFOs are real, but they don't know where they're from, whether they're from an unknown enemy from a different country, or whether they're from somewhere else, not from this earth, but they exist, but they just don't know what they are. And from that report, there's followed the 3 congressional subcommittee meetings that were held in public and broadcast. You still get them on YouTube, all fascinating to watch and serious. But I wouldn't say Leslie Kean kicked it all off, but the New York Times article that she did on the Nimitz videos and experiences of people in the military of a serious nature, everything else that followed that I've just explained. So yeah, so Leslie Kean, I'll get to the point. Yeah, so Leslie Kean wrote Surviving Death. It's got those hands, which is on the Ashes album. And within the Ashes album, you've got the book, of the wound. The cross pulled from his chest raises a welt, leaden in every limb. Sleep can watch for seizures. The legless man had directed him to a window. Windows, like blind eyes, probed the mud. The minutes that were left ran across his throat stuffed with cotton, and his mouth could hear the distant splashes. A fever, and his hand is worse. In the silent film days, he must remain an enigma. They climbed 3 flights of stairs to the night like 100 pieces of glass. There were numerous outstretched hands throwing shadows, a pair of shadows holding the 3-cornered hat of a cardinal. We move on to snake venoms. Christ would spit on you, and that's who you remind me of. Beneath a musty green, the wound appears to be dying. Beneath a musty green, the wound appears to be dying. Beneath a musty green, the wound, it appears to be dying. Question 3. 42. The answer to life, the universe, and everything. What is the point? What is the meaning of life? There is no point. There is no meaning. Life just is. That's what I not necessarily believe, but I don't think I guess it is what I believe. I don't think there is a point. I think you're born, you live, and then you pass, and whatever comes next, if anything. But it just happens. There is no necessarily any point to anything. Now, when you're on Earth, when you're living, I think you can create, even though there's no great philosophical point to life. I believe that you can make a point to life by the behavior and the acts that you do, acts of kindness, acts of love, acts of care, as well as personal fulfillment, the gaining of knowledge, the enjoyment of acts. Yes, you could make that a personal point. And also the leaving something behind where your existence means you have meant something, either to others or to the firmament of humanity. It's the best I can answer for that question, really. Number 4, it's radio beginning. What is your favourite memory in your experiences as a listener to the radio? So I've got 2. The principal one is around American football. As I've mentioned before, that's my life's passion. And we never got American football on TV up to about 1981. And then from about 1981 through to 1985, we got limited highlights on a channel called Channel 4. But the highlights weren't really enough for me. I wanted live games. Live games were still a decade away. So for college on Saturday nights, college football, and the NFL on Sunday nights, I would listen to American Armed Forces Radio, AFRTS, and Westwood One channel. The experience was an experience because the coverage was not great. It was frequently interrupted with feedback and interference from Radio Lancashire. There was Bangor night on a Saturday, and I think it was a Saturday, and then late on a Sunday, you had kind of like Spanish flamenco music kicking in, because it wasn't stereo radio. It was 873 medium wave. But as the night went on and other radio channels shut down, the coverage got clearer and clearer until it got to about 1 a.m. And for the late game, I won't say it was clear as a bell, because you sometimes lost coverage, but it was pretty clear. And radio commentary of American football is in a certain respect, more exciting and interesting than watching it on TV. Because you picture it in your mind's eye anyway, and they would talk about all manner of things which you necessarily wouldn't, or you don't get on TV coverage. So that's my fondest memory. Also, I've listed John Peel's Festive 50. John Peel was an alternative radio DJ for Radio 1. When did he passed away in, I'm going to say roughly 2000. And he used to do these things called Festive 50 where people would write in with their top, I think it was top three. You wrote your top three of alternative songs for the year. And in December, he would run through the top 50 based upon what listeners had voted in. I remember, for example, the 1985 Festive 50, which is when I was 17. I remember Never Understand by the Jesus and Mary Chain were number one. She Shall Sanctuary by The Cult was number four. I think the Smiths, The Boy with the Thorn in His Side, was in the top 10. What else was there? New Order had just released Law Life, the album. Perfect Kiss was the highest rated. That was in the top 10. Love Vigilantes was somewhere in the top 20. Subculture was somewhere, I'm going to say 17 or 18. My favourite songs from Low Life were This Time of Night and Sunrise. They didn't get a look in the top 50. Sisters of Mercy, Marianne was 35, 36-ish. I think there was another Sisters of Mercy song as well, lower down. Can't remember now. But yeah, even now, 40 odd years on, I remember particularly the 1985 one, because that was when I was listening to John Peel the most. It's embedded in my mind. Those, I might be wrong on some of those chart numbers, but Jesus Mary Chain were definitely number one. Cult were definitely four. And I think Smiths were 8, 9, or 10. Anyway, number 5 is The Towel, whatever that is. What book or books would you pack for a holiday? So in my early years, I would, as a young adult, I backpacked, as I've mentioned on other, I won't bore you with the details, as I've mentioned on other episodes. But then I started doing standard beach holidays. And for a fortnight's beach holiday, I specifically would take 6 books, because I went on a beach holiday to relax and read and nothing else. Within those 6, the first book will be the one that I'm reading, going up to the point of departure and traveling. And then I would take 3 novels, and then I would take 1 sport novel, 1 sport book, be it a biography or just a sport book, 1 non-fiction book, and out of the 6 in total, or the 5 that I hadn't read, one of them would be a brand new book that I'd bought at the airport. Very specific. That's what the question asked, so that's the answer. Number 6, the Infinite Improbability Drive. Name a fast read. I was going to stop mentioning this particular book because I mentioned it on quite a few other tags, but it just really came to mind when I thought of a fast read, and it's The Road by Cormac McCarthy. And it's because of the way that it's written, because you've got spaces. Let me put this pad down. Got sections of paragraphs and then a space, sections of paragraphs from a space. And it's quite easily written. It's in my top 10 all-time books, and every single person should read The Road. It's just fantastic. Again, I won't bore you with the details because I've bored you enough about it in previous tags, other than to say it's a fast read because of the way that the style that it's written, or the presentation of the way that it's written. The final question, I think it's the final question. No, 2 more. Don't panic. Name a book with great levels of suspense or tension. This was a toughie because nothing really sprang to mind. There's probably been loads, but nothing really struck out other than I thought of the first one that came to mind was Return of the King, the third book in the Lord of the Rings, which I read 40 odd years ago now. I particularly remember the Return of the King and the tenseness around whether Frodo died or not. And there's a mountain and a spider, and it's just a particularly tense section of the book. I'm not going to mention any more because I realise that there's Emily at M Reads is doing a project to read the Lord of the Rings in the first 3 months of next year. And there may be people watching this who haven't read the Lord of the Rings who are taking part in that project. So I won't mention any more than that. Question number 8 is TV and film adaptations. Pick a book to discuss one or more TV or film adaptations that you know of the book. Pick good and bad if it's relevant to the book. This was an easy one. And it's Gomorrah by Roberto Saviano. I couldn't find the book on my shelves, so I'm going to have to put the picture up. The book itself isn't a great book. Essentially, it's about the mafia and drug dealing in Italy. I first became aware of Roberto Saviano and his work with the TV series Romanzo Criminale in, wrote it down, 2008. Absolutely fantastic TV series. There's two series. It's set in the 1980s as a particular group of youths become enveloped into organising their own particular gang, and the series goes on to portray what happens to them. It's directed by a chap called Stefano Sollima. I really love the theme tune at the end, and it's it's nothing memorable. There's no particular jazzy, catchy song. It's very like The Wire, the closing credits to that, where it's just a very simple beat, quite ambient-esque. But the TV series, it was just a joy to watch. I can't describe it other than to say it was absolutely fantastic and one of the best things I'd seen for years. And then, and that was shown on Sky Arts. Sky Arts used to show TV series rather than just cultural documentaries. They showed TV series as well, and that was one of them. Based upon a film, the film is poor, and all the things that I'm going to talk about, the film is poor. The book, the book Gomorrah isn't a fantastic book, but what came next was Gomorrah, the TV series, and that is just simply to die for. There's 5 series and 1 movie special around the series 3 mark. I'm close to saying it's the best TV series that I think has ever been made. It is that good. Italian, like Romanzo Criminale, it's Italian language. Like Romanzo Criminale, it's based upon a story by Roberto Saviano and also directed by Stefano Sollima. So there's a connection there running through it with Stefano Sollima and Roberto Saviano. The entire, each episode, you have no idea who's going to live till the end of the episode. Everyone is fair game, and it gets better from series 1, series 2, series 3. Each series just builds on the last, and the incidental music is, I want to say, cinematic, because at times there's a particular rhythmic driving beat which crops up in the final 5 minutes of each episode, and you know each episode is building to a climax with this particular incidental music, and it's just a program that is absolutely to die for. Yeah, so if you get the opportunity, if you've got Sky and you've not seen it yet, or if you've got any other streaming thing that you subscribe to and you see Gomorrah on there, please watch it. You will be rewarded. Get beyond the first 3 or 4 episodes, because they are a bit slow and it takes a bit of getting used to, especially with the Italian language and the subtitles. But you will be rewarded with one of the TV experiences of your life. Then, after Gomorrah, there came 000 by Roberto Saviano in Penguin. Orange penguin. I collect orange penguins, as you may know if you're a regular watcher of the channel. But again, they made a TV series. Again, it was based upon the book by Roberto Saviano, and again, it was directed by Stefano Sollima. And as an extra bonus, the incidental music is by Mogwai, Mogwai. If you want to investigate them, highly recommend Mogwai. They only made one series, and this was in around the 2020 mark. Had Gomorrah finished by that point? I can't remember. It was towards the end of the Gomorrah series. They made one, but again, similar theme where you've got a band of youths who start to get involved in drug running, and then it snowballs from there. And yeah, again, all based upon the similar theme. I thought it was worth a second series, to be honest, but they didn't make a second series. There is another film based upon a book by Roberto Saviano, and it's a book called Piranhas, which I've not read, but they made a film. I don't think Stefano Sollima is involved in Piranhas. I think one of the people involved in 000 might be involved in Piranhas. But some connecting factor other than Saviano. It's contrary to the other three. Piranhas, the film, is actually pretty good. It crops up on BBC late at night every now and then, but that's well worth a watch. And I'm surprised that they haven't made a TV series. They are in the process of making prequels to Romanzo Criminale and Gomorrah. I think the prequel to Gomorrah is out, might be January or February of next year. I would say please give Gomorrah a try, the 5 series, and you will like Gomorrah. No one doesn't like it. And then you can investigate Romanzo Criminale beyond that. That's my TV service announcement of the day. And with that, we are done with the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy tag. If you've enjoyed my ramblings and want to hear more, by all means click like or click subscribe. It'd be very much appreciated. And I will see you next time. Thank you very much. Goodbye.